Greetings everyone, welcome to this video. I'm filming this video to talk about midterms and summer 2021 at WVU. And in particular, we're going to be talking about sequel, prequel, remake evaluation paper and revising it. And how do you revise? What do I expect in a midterm? So all these questions will be answered in this video. I might end up using this video again in the future, depending if I teach this assignment first again. So we will see. But I just wanted to start off by addressing some common problems. For the most part, they were a great batch of papers, this particular class. You guys, so the key, remember the key is identifying your criteria early, knocking your summary out of the way early, and then going well in depth, evaluating 3 or 4 different criteria. So what made the first movie work? How did the sequel, prequel, remake stand up to in terms of those criteria? So when you get to the analysis part of the paper, you have to give some examples. You have to kind of show the reader how this stacks up. So was it, how did it stack up, right? So maybe the soundtrack in the movie. Like how did the soundtrack stack up compared to the first? What about the camera work? Lots of you guys wrote about camera work. How does that stack up compared to the original? Whenever you talk about things like character and plot, talking about those two things separately is kind of a mistake. You kind of want to conflate those things, I think. So that's something to think about. But even like when you think about things like comedies, like what makes a comedy funny, right? Those are things you can consider. So for the most part, you guys all did good. If you struggled with the paper early on, you didn't really have a strong thesis identifying what your criteria were. So if you can get that out early, then you can spend the whole rest of the paper proving it. If you don't have that strong thesis right from the onset, what happens is your paper loses its focus. So you might spend too much time summarizing the plot through the rest of the paper rather than analyzing the criteria, for instance. And there wasn't a lot of common things people did. Different people did different things. I pointed out some small errors and sentence construction and things like that. But for the most part, to know what you need to do, read my end note at the end of your paper, then look through the side comments telling you what to do. Now I'm going to talk about the midterm and what you need to do in revising this. So basically remember that in a WVU composition course, you're technically graded twice in one semester, once at midterm based off the first paper, the first of only 4 papers. Remember that. So here at midterm, you're being assessed on just one paper, not all 4. And at the final portfolio part of the class, you're assessed on all 4 of your papers. So the midterm here doesn't hold any weight necessarily, but it gives you a gauge on how well you're doing through halfway through the course. The annotated bibliography, while you're turning it in during midterm week, there's not enough time to grade it and then have you guys revise it. So that's why there's only 1 paper in midterm week. During this week as well, we're going to be working on logical fallacies. So remember that as well. So what do you do with the midterm revision then? So the very first thing that you include is a cover page. So the paper should technically start on page 2. I want a cover page first, a cover memo. You can kind of do it in traditional memo form. If you took English 101 here at WVU, you do it the same exact way. What I want in the cover memo, though, explain maybe at the beginning of it, maybe a paragraph, explain where you were as a writer before the course, So like what kinds of writing have you done before the course? Maybe in English 101, maybe in high school, maybe in even some of your other college courses. The major part I want you to talk about is discuss your revision process you've taken from start to finish on paper 1 by using specific examples from your work. So you need to explain to me on this first page how much things you've changed. And all of you might have differing levels of changes you need to make. Some of you guys who might have knocked the paper out the first time might not need to make that many changes. Some of you guys who struggled a bit who might need to do some rethinking, especially in terms of organization and things like thesis and things like that. Some of you all might need to do a lot of revisions. So it really depends person to person as far as what you need to do. On my comments, I tried to give all of you guys some suggestions for some revisions. So explain to me what it is you've changed here. Like I said, some of you will have more things to change than others. Most of the time, my comments are not friendly suggestions. You probably need to change what it is you're doing. And then the last part of the cover page, analyze your strengths and your weaknesses so far as a writer. What skills do you hope to continue developing through the course? So where do you think your strengths are? Where do you think you can still get better? So by the time you do all that, it should be about a page. So depending on how many revisions you do, it might be a little more than a page. And at the final part of the semester, you're going to do the same thing, except you're going to talk about 4 papers in your revision process on all 4. So the final memo will actually be a little longer. And then what you do after that is you post your revised paper 1. So listen carefully. Listen carefully. When I grade these things, I don't go back and read them thoroughly again. I just don't. I've spent time grading them thoroughly the first time. I'm definitely not going to do so the second time. Reason for that is it's on you guys. It's on you guys to prove to me how much you've changed and how much you've grown and evolved. So let's say, for instance, you add a new paragraph into your paper. If you don't follow my directions, when I scroll through your paper, I'm not going to know that new paragraph is there unless you tell me. So you need to use signposts to point out your revisions. So the same way that I comment on your papers, note here that I'm using Microsoft Word on a PC. The same way that I comment on your papers, you need to insert some comments in the margins here. So use signposts to show your changes. So wherever you've made big changes in your paper, use the signposts. And what I do is I have 2 monitors and I scroll down and compare them side by side. If the papers are still pretty much the same, I'm going to assume you haven't done any revisions. And at that point, I will grade you based on the strength of your first paper. So sometimes people will have done revisions, but I assume that they haven't done them just because you haven't included the comments. So use the comment bubbles to show me what you've changed. So it's a little repetitive because you're going to be talking in your cover memo what you changed. But then when you get down here, you're also going to have your signposts pointing out where you've changed stuff. So what I do is I read the cover memo and then I scroll down and look for those changes that you've talked about. With that said, you mostly use the signposts just for big changes. Let's say you add some content. Let's say you delete some content. The big changes you make to your paper, you use the signposts. If you just do something as simple as, let's say, fixing a comma splice or a run-on sentence, something to that effect, all you got to do for those is just highlight where you fixed your comma. or something like that, just like I just did here. I'll actually type that in these directions. For small changes, like grammatical ones. So for major changes, use comment bubbles. For small changes, you can just highlight. So for this particular class here in summer 2021, the portfolio will be due Saturday, July 17th by noon. I give you as late as I can to do these. This is a kind of busy week because you submit your bibliographies and then we work on logic stuff while you're doing your midterm revision. I'm giving you the 17th by noon, okay? And then I will have them returned to you on that Monday, the 19th, because the midterm grades are due at that point. I will assess you based off of your portfolio, based off your informal writing. You're going to get lots of informal writing grades come in during this week that I haven't graded yet. The main one I've graded so far has been the topic proposal. I'm going to give you some grades on your other ones and your participation and attendance. Look out for that this week. You will get that report on Monday the 19th. That should be pretty self-explanatory for what you guys need to do. I'm here this week. I'm always available to answer questions or comments, concerns. You guys, my phone number is on the syllabus. If you guys want to call me during my hours, you can shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I don't care. Ask me a question anytime. I'm literally here for you guys all the time in an online class. So please take advantage of that. I know it's strange not meeting in the office and things of that nature like you normally would. But I'm here pretty much all the time, so don't hesitate to ask me for help if you need to. So with that said, guys, that should be it. Good luck on your midterms. I trust that they will go quite well. So until next time, guys, see you later.